All right, I'm going to show you a rounding trick that I call the rounding factory. So in order to do this, we're going to imagine that all of our digits are working in a factory. Okay, and each one is an employee. And this is going to sound weird, but just bear with me for a minute. So let's say it comes over the intercom. Hey, whole rounding to the nearest whole number, you are up for a promotion. So if it says to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to put WN for whole number. That means I'm looking for the ones place because that's the nearest whole number. That's the last place before the decimal. This guy, this 4 right here, is up for promotion. So what he gets to do is he gets to go to his boss, and every single number's boss is the number that's to the right of them. So number 4's boss happens to be 8. So this could go one of two ways. So if you're a number 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then you have a mean boss. He's not nice. He's a meanie. Okay, or she. Girls can be bosses too. Yeah. And then if you have a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, that is a sweetie boss. It's a nice boss. So no matter what you ask these bosses, the 0 through 4, they're going to say no. And the 5 through 9, they're going to say yes. So 4 is going to go to 8 and say, hey, Mr. 8, can I have a promotion? And Mr. 8, being a nice boss, is going to say yes. So what that does here is the 4 gets to become a 5. Everything before that stays the same because they weren't even paying attention. And then the boss afterwards becomes a 0, and everything else becomes a 0. So 54 and 826 thousandths rounded to the nearest whole number would be 55. That's a whole number now. Okay, so let me clear that here. Now let's see what it looks like when we're talking about rounding to a different place. So let's say over the intercom, you have the intercom says round to the nearest tenths place. Tenths place, you are up for promotion. So we underline the 8. That's who's up for promotion because that's the tenths place. So he is going to go ask the boss to the right, which happens to be the 2. Now remember, anything 0 to 4, 0 to 4 is a mean boss. Anything 5 to 9 is a nice boss. So 2, mean boss. So he's going to say, nope, you don't get a promotion. You have to stay the same. So 8 stays the same. Everything before 8 stays the same because they weren't paying attention. They were all just staying in their office working. No big deal. And then the boss and everything after the boss becomes a 0. So now 54.826 or 54 and 826 thousandths rounded to the nearest tenths place is 54.8 or 54.800 thousandths. We can forget about these zeros though because any zeros after a digit after a decimal don't really matter anymore. Let's try it with one more example here. So let's say over the intercom, they say round to the nearest hundredth. So 2 is up for promotion. Now 2's boss is the 6. So 2 is going to ask the 6, hey, can I have a promotion? So we remember anything 0 to 4 is going to say no. Anything 5 to 8, 5 to 9 is going to say yes. So this is in between 5 and 9. The 6 tells 2, yes, you can have a promotion. So 2 goes up 1 digit, becomes a 3. Everything before that stays the same because they were all not paying attention. They were all working in their office. And then everything after that becomes a 0. So that means just the boss in this case. So 54 and 826 thousandths round to the nearest hundredth is 54 and 83 hundredths. We forget about that 0. So there is a situation where more digits could be affected. So that could happen. I'm just going to erase this area here. Okay. That can happen when I've got a 9 involved. I'm going to show you what I mean. So let me change up this number here. I'm going to change, let's say, this to a 9. Change this to a 7, just for this case here. So let's say the boss comes over, or the intercom announcer says, hey, 10th place, you're up for promotion, right? We're rounding to the nearest 10th place. So that's the 9, and the 9 goes to the 7 to ask. Well, in this case, things work a little bit different because the 7's a nice boss, so it's going to say, yeah, you can go up. When I think about a 9 going up to the next digit, well, I don't have another digit to go up to, so I have to actually add 1 to 9, which makes it 10. So this is where it gets a little bit different. That means this 9 becomes a 0, and then he gets to go over to the guy who he's the boss for, right? The 9 is the boss for 4 too, and he says, hey, guess what? I got a promotion. That means you get 1 too. So we actually add a 1 to this 4 here, and this becomes 5. And I can't forget my decimal here. And then this one wasn't paying attention, so that one just stays 5. And then the 7 becomes a 0, and the 6 becomes a 0. So in this case, because my 10th place was a 9, it actually pushed everything to become a whole number in this case. But that'll work in any situation. Like if you've got a 9 here, that could turn this 9 and this 9. If your next digit over doesn't go higher than, or it needs to go up and it's already a 9, you're actually going to turn it a 0 and then add 1 to the digit before it. So let's take another look at something similar like that. If I change a bunch of these to 9s, like let's say, let's see, let's turn this into a 9. And let's turn this into a 9 just to have some fun here. So let's say, and you know what, I'm going to do that. 159, just to change the number up a little bit. Say the announcer says 100th place, you get to change, right? So let me grab my drawing tool here. 100th place, you're up for promotion. Gonna ask the 6. The 6 says yes, right? Because it's in the yes column here. So 6 turns into a 0. This 9 becomes a 10. So it turns into a 0. And we add a 1 here. Well, 9 plus 1, that's another 10. So we add a 0 here. Don't forget to drop down the decimal. And then we add another 1 here. 9 plus 1, that's another 10. And we add 1 to this 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. And then I just get to bring my 1 down. So that's 160. So 159 and 996 thousandths rounded to the nearest hundredth is 160. So pretty interesting how that works out. That's the only real tricky thing is when you have 9s, how they do that. So yeah, that's my trick for the rounding factory.